The story of every NBA player drafted above Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is now a superstar, wasn't always thought of in the same way on draft night. Giannis was selected with the 15th overall choice in the 2013 draft, naturally by the Milwaukee Bucks. For a player of his caliber, that is really low. This is Sportsman Pro, and today we will look into every NBA player drafted above Giannis Antetokounmpo. 1. Anthony Bennett. Anthony Bennett is chosen by the Cleveland Cavaliers as the first choice in the 2013 NBA draft. Many of you know Anthony Bennett as the biggest bust in NBA history, but you also know that he was a tough player in college, scoring an average of 16 points per game as a true freshman. Although he excelled in college, nobody in the draft class considered him to be the most skilled player, with the exception of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Anthony Bennett was moved to the Timberwolves by Cleveland after his rookie season. They released him after just 57 games of the season. Today, he can be found playing basketball professionally overseas. 2. Victor Oladipo. The Orlando Magic chose Victor Oladipo with the second overall pick in the 2013 NBA draft. Victor Oladipo was a freak athlete who played college basketball for Indiana University. He scored 14 points on average in each game. In his first 4 seasons in the league, his career really got off to a rather strong start. He averaged roughly 16 points per game while playing effectively for Orlando. He hasn't been the same as before, primarily due to injuries. He still has the ability to play. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to maintain his health. Victor played for the Miami Heat this past season, and in the games that he was present for, he was actually performing well. But Victor would once more sustain a season-ending injury. 3. Otto Porter Jr. Otto Porter Jr. was selected by the Washington Wizards as the third choice in the 2013 NBA draft. As a sophomore in college, Otto averaged 16 points per game and won the Big East Player of the Year award. Before being moved to the Chicago Bulls, he would have his last 5 seasons in Washington. He was traded again, this time to the Orlando Magic, after spending 1 season in Chicago. 4. Cody Zeller. The Charlotte Bobcats chose Cody Zeller as the 4th overall pick. Cody studied at Indiana University, scoring an average of 16 points per game while also pulling down 7 rebounds. Even though he put up impressive stats, it was his basketball IQ that cemented him as a top 5 overall pick. He didn't quite live up to the standards and expectations for a player chosen that highly, but he is still reliable. Among the players on this list, Cody is one of those who still remain with the team that drafted him. 5. Alex Len. Alex Len is chosen by the Phoenix Suns as the 5th pick. He returned to school as a sophomore at Maryland and saw gains in almost every statistical category. He increased his scoring output by 2-fold, and scouts were incredibly pleased by his deft footwork and defensive awareness. However, his career did not flourish as many had anticipated. He played 4 seasons in Phoenix, scoring and pulling down 7 rebounds on average. His greatest season would come in 2018, following his deal with Atlanta. Sadly, he wouldn't spend much time in Atlanta. He has since performed in Toronto and Sacramento. He participated in this past season's Washington Wizards. 6. Nerlens Noel. The New Orleans Pelicans chose Nerlens Noel as the 6th overall pick. When he graduated from college, he was expected to be the first pick in the 2013 NBA draft, but he was unable to maintain his health. The worst thing that could have happened to him during the season was a torn ACL. No team wants to select an injured athlete in the draft, so that's the reason he ultimately slipped lower in the draft. 7. Ben McLemore. The Sacramento Kings choose Ben McLemore with the 7th overall pick. He went to the University of Kansas and was compared to Ray Allen. He was chosen by Sacramento on draft night, but he didn't exactly live up to the expectations. He was released by Sacramento in 2019, but he later signed a contract with the Houston Rockets, where he would demonstrate that he was still able to play well. He played for the Los Angeles Lakers last season, scoring roughly 8 points per game on about 37% of his shots. 8. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. The 8th choice by the Detroit Pistons is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. KCP was a skilled scorer who attended the University of Georgia. As a sophomore, he averaged roughly 19 points. KCP was chosen by the Detroit Pistons in the later part of that year. Prior to joining the Lakers as a free agent, he played for the Pistons for 4 seasons. KCP has had his ups and downs, but overall he's a decent third-person shooter. His consistency issue is the sole drawback. 9. Trey Burke. With the 9th pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Trey Burke. University of Michigan student Trey Burke contributed around 19 points, 7 assists, and a trip to the national championship game as a sophomore. Everyone who entered the league believed Trey had tremendous potential, including the Utah Jazz. But it was quickly realized that he wouldn't stay in Utah for very long. BURKE would play for Utah for 3 years before being traded to the Washington Wizards for a second-round pick. He has since played for many different teams. He played for the Dallas Mavericks last season, where he averaged roughly 7 points per game. 10. MCCOLLUM. With the 10th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Portland Trail Blazers selected MCCOLLUM. Lehigh University is a small school where MCCOLLUM studied. Throughout his undergraduate career, he averaged 21 points per game as a high-scoring combo guard. He was drafted by Portland after his senior year, and he has since made a name for himself. He has at least 20 points per game on average over the past 6 years. 11. Michael Carter-Williams. The Philadelphia 76ers choose Michael Carter-Williams as the 11th overall choice. At Syracuse University, Michael Carter-Williams played collegiate basketball, and his potential was clearly evident. He averaged approximately 12 points and 7 assists in his better sophomore season, but his size was what really stood out about him this time. Averaging 17 points per game during his debut campaign, MCW won Rookie of the Year honors. The next season, he was traded to Milwaukee to play with Giannis. From that point on, his career took an unfortunate turn. He had numerous injuries, lost confidence, and ultimately failed to adjust to the new style of basketball. As of right now, he is a reliable role player for the Orlando Magic. 12. Steven Adams. With the 12th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder selected Steven Adams. Steven Adams attended the University of Pittsburgh. Although his numbers weren't the most impressive, you could still tell that he had potential. He was a bit of a project when he first arrived in Oklahoma. He would ultimately, nevertheless, turn into a dependable center. Steven would have his finest performance in the 2017 season, averaging 13 points and 9 rebounds, which would earn him a huge 4-year, $100 million contract. He currently represents the New Orleans Pelicans, and during the previous campaign, he averaged roughly 8 points and 9 rebounds. 13. Kelly Olynyk. The 13th pick is Kelly Olynyk by the Dallas Mavericks. Attending Gonzaga University was Kelly Olynyk. He scored roughly 18 points and pulled 7 rebounds on average. He has played for several teams during his 8 years in the NBA, most recently the Rockets and the Celtics. He did score 19 points per game on average last season, but throughout the course of his career, he has averaged around 10 points and 5 rebounds. 14. SHABAZZ Muhammad. With the 14th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz selected SHABAZZ Muhammad. SHABAZZ Muhammad went to UCLA and was known as a pure scorer. He demonstrated this, at least on a collegiate level, as a freshman by averaging 18 points per game. On draft night, he was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. He would average around 14 points every game, which was the most he had ever scored in a career. In the Chinese Basketball League, SHABAZZ Muhammad last competed professionally in 2019. 15. Giannis Antetokounmpo. And with the 15th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks selected Giannis Antetokounmpo. What are your thoughts on the 2013 NBA draft lineup? Do you think Giannis deserved to be drafted 15th? Let us know in the comments. Enjoyed this video? Found it interesting and informative? Hit the like and subscribe buttons to receive more from us.